She thought she was in love. She thought he was just misunderstood. But in the end, her boyfriend didn't just break her heart. He ended her life. What started as a teenage romance became a chilling story of obsession, control, and murder. This is the heartbreaking case of Emily Reed. A bright, beautiful girl with her whole life ahead of her. And Jason Myers, the boyfriend who couldn't handle being left behind. Welcome to True Crime Teejan. Thanks to all my viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay tuned for daily true crime updates, and don't forget to subscribe. Ridgewood was the kind of town that didn't make the news. Safe. Suburban. Predictable. A place where doors were left unlocked and teenagers hung out at the same 5 spots every weekend. The local diner, with its checkered floors and the ever-present scent of frying burgers, was a popular haunt. The small town square, dominated by a slightly crooked war memorial, saw its fair share of loitering and whispered secrets. And then there was Miller's Pond, nestled in the woods at the edge of town, a place for quiet reflection and stolen moments under the shade of weeping willows. These were the landmarks of Ridgewood, the backdrop to lives that were, for the most part, unremarkable in their peacefulness. Emily Reed lived here her whole life. 17. Blonde. Bright-eyed. She had a spark, the kind of person who made everyone feel like they mattered. When she walked into a room, it was like someone had turned up the lights. Her laughter was infectious, a bright melody that could lift even the gloomiest spirits. She had a knack for remembering small details about people, making them feel seen and valued. In class, she was engaged and curious, always ready with a thoughtful question or a well-reasoned argument. Outside of school, she volunteered at the local animal shelter, her gentle touch and patient demeanor soothing even the most anxious creatures. She dreamed of a life on stage, of embodying characters and telling stories that would move audiences. She devoured books on acting, practiced monologues in her bedroom mirror, and even landed a few small roles in community theater productions. She wanted to be an actress one day, maybe move to New York after graduation. The bright lights of Broadway beckoned, a world away from the quiet streets of Ridgewood. Her mom, Lisa Reed, called her sunlight in human form. And to many, she was. She was the best kind of friend, the daughter any parent would be proud of, the kind of person who made the world a little bit better just by being in it. Then she met Jason Myers. Also 17. Soft-spoken. Kept to himself. Where Emily radiated warmth, Jason seemed to exist in the shadows. He was the kind of boy who would sit in the back of the classroom, his gaze often fixed out the window, lost in his own thoughts. He wasn't unfriendly, exactly, but he rarely initiated conversations and seemed content in his own solitude. He sketched in notebooks. His drawings were often intricate and dark, filled with brooding figures and fantastical landscapes. He listened to old records, the scratchy melodies of forgotten eras filling his quiet room. He had a vintage record player that he treasured, often spending hours lost in the music. People said he was intense. A little too quiet. There was an air of melancholy that seemed to cling to him, a sadness that hinted at some inner turmoil. But Emily saw something in him. She always had a soft spot for broken things. She felt a pull towards his quiet vulnerability, a sense that beneath the reserved exterior lay a sensitive soul in need of understanding. She believed in her ability to see the good in people, to nurture the potential she perceived even when others dismissed it. They started dating after a group project in sophomore English. The assignment had been to write a short play, and Emily's vibrant ideas had initially clashed with Jason's more subdued and introspective approach. But as they worked together, a connection began to form. Emily admired Jason's artistic talent and the depth of his thoughts, while Jason was drawn to Emily's energy and enthusiasm. He found himself opening up to her in ways he never had with anyone else. At first, it was sweet. He'd leave poems in her locker. The poems were often filled with intense imagery and declarations of deep affection, written in a flowery, almost old-fashioned style. Walk her to every class. He would linger by her side, a silent presence, his eyes constantly on her. He even gave her a silver heart-shaped necklace with her initials engraved on it, a symbol of his devotion. Forever yours, the card had read. The words, written in his neat, precise handwriting, seemed romantic at the time, a promise of an enduring love. But forever came faster than anyone expected. The initial charm and sweetness of their courtship soon began to curdle into something darker, something more suffocating. The intensity that Emily had initially found endearing started to feel like a weight, a constant pressure. At first, their relationship seemed like the real thing, passionate, close, almost cinematic. Their early dates were filled with long walks under starry skies, whispered secrets, and a feeling of being completely understood. Jason would share his sketches with Emily, explaining the stories behind the intricate lines and shading. Emily would talk about her dreams of acting, her voice animated with passion, and Jason would listen with rapt attention, hanging on her every word. They seemed to exist in their own little world, oblivious to the concerns or opinions of others. But soon, Jason's love turned possessive. The lines between affection and control began to blur, subtle at first, but gradually becoming more pronounced. He would blow up her phone if she didn't respond fast enough. A missed text or a delayed reply would be met with a barrage of messages, each one more insistent and accusatory than the last. He started showing up at places uninvited. If Emily mentioned she was going to the library to study with friends, Jason would mysteriously appear, claiming he had to return a book. If she went to the diner with her family, he would suddenly be there, sitting alone at a nearby table, his eyes fixed on her. Watching. Waiting. He would stand outside her house at night, just out of sight, making sure she was safe, he claimed. Emily's best friend, Sophie Lane, noticed first. Sophie, with her sharp wit and unwavering loyalty, had been Emily's confidant since kindergarten. She had always been a keen observer of people, and she saw the subtle shifts in Emily's demeanor, the growing unease in her eyes. He doesn't let her breathe, she told classmates. Sophie confided in other friends, expressing her growing concern about Jason's behavior. They noticed how Emily seemed to constantly check her phone, how her laughter didn't quite reach her eyes anymore when Jason was around. But Emily brushed it off. She was fiercely protective of Jason, convinced that everyone else simply didn't understand him. He just loves hard. He's been through a lot. She would recount stories Jason had shared about his difficult childhood, his feelings of loneliness and isolation, using them to explain away his increasingly controlling actions. But love shouldn't feel like a cage. The constant need for reassurance, the unspoken expectations of unwavering attention, these were beginning to feel less like affection and more like confinement. Love shouldn't feel like surveillance. Emily started to feel like she was constantly being watched, her every move scrutinized. The freedom and joy she once felt were slowly being eroded by Jason's increasingly overbearing presence. Then came the fights. Small ones at first, over text, over who she talked to, over what she wore. A casual conversation with a male classmate would lead to accusations of flirting. A new dress would be deemed too revealing. These arguments would often erupt over seemingly insignificant things, but they left Emily feeling drained and confused. But they escalated. He accused her of lying, of flirting, of drifting. Jason's insecurities seemed to grow with each passing day, fueling his paranoia and suspicion. He would go through Emily's phone, scrutinizing her messages and call logs. He would question her about every interaction she had, demanding to know who she spoke to, what they said, and how long the conversation lasted. He'd beg her not to leave him, then turn cold and cruel in the same breath. The emotional roller coaster left Emily feeling perpetually off balance, walking on eggshells, unsure of what might trigger his next outburst. His apologies after these episodes were often dramatic and tearful, filled with promises to change, to be better. And Emily, wanting to believe in the good she still thought existed within him, would often forgive him, hoping that things would go back to the way they were in the beginning. Emily started to pull back. The vibrant, outgoing Emily began to withdraw, her light dimming under the weight of the relationship. She deleted their photos from social media. The online reminders of their seemingly perfect romance had become a source of discomfort and even shame. She stopped wearing the necklace. The silver heart, once a symbol of love, now felt like a brand, a constant reminder of the suffocating nature of their relationship. She started spending more time with Sophie, finding solace in her unwavering support. She rediscovered old hobbies, like painting, finding a sense of peace in the quiet act of creating. And one afternoon, she finally told Sophie. The words came out in a rush, a mixture of relief and fear. "I'm going to end it. I'm meeting him tonight. I just want to do it in person." She felt it was the only way to truly make him understand, to give him the respect of a face-to-face conversation, even though a part of her was terrified of his reaction. Sophie begged her not to go alone. Fear gripped Sophie's heart as Emily spoke. She had a terrible feeling about this meeting, a premonition that something awful was going to happen. She offered to go with Emily, to wait nearby, to do anything to ensure her friend's safety. But Emily smiled, a small, sad smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She wanted to handle this on her own, to prove to herself that she could be strong and independent. She said it would be fine. She tried to reassure Sophie, downplaying her own fears. She promised to text when she got home. She never did. That was the last time Sophie saw Emily alive, that last fragile smile etched into her memory, a haunting reminder of what was lost. That night, Emily met Jason at the old railroad tracks, a place that held both sweet and now bitter memories for them. It was a quiet spot where they used to hang out before everything went wrong. They would sit on the weathered wooden ties, watching the trains rumble past, talking for hours about their dreams and fears. Now, the silence of the tracks felt heavy, ominous. It was supposed to be one last conversation. One last goodbye. Emily had rehearsed what she wanted to say countless times in her head, trying to find the right words to convey her feelings without causing unnecessary pain. But Jason didn't want goodbye. His world revolved around Emily, and the thought of her leaving was unbearable to him. He wanted control. He needed to feel like he still had a hold on her, on their relationship. And when he realized she was really walking away, when he heard the finality in her voice, the resolute look in her eyes, he snapped. Something inside him broke, a dam of pent-up emotions and insecurities bursting forth in a violent wave. There were no witnesses. The isolated location offered a false sense of privacy, a place where secrets could be kept, and now, a life could be taken. No camera footage. The flickering streetlights in the distance didn't reach this far, leaving the scene shrouded in darkness. Just her necklace, the silver heart glinting faintly under the moonlight. And his hands. The hands that had once held hers so tenderly now became instruments of death. He used the same silver chain he once gave her in love, a twisted irony, a beautiful symbol of affection turned into a tool of destruction. To strangle her. He had never imagined that his love for her would lead to such a horrific act, but in that moment of desperation and rage, his possessiveness spiraled out of control. Emily Reed died there, in the grass, under the stars, her young life extinguished in a senseless act of violence. At the hands of the boy who once told her she was his world. The cold reality of her death hung heavy in the night air, a stark contrast to the dreams that had once filled her bright eyes. By morning, Emily's bed was untouched. The sunlight streaming through her window illuminated an empty space where a vibrant young woman should have been. Her phone, dead. Its silent screen offered no comfort, no explanation for her absence. Her mother, Lisa, panicked when Emily missed breakfast, a routine that had been a constant in their lives. She always texted good morning. Every day, without fail, Emily would send a cheerful message, a simple, "Good morning, Mom. Love you." Today, the silence was deafening. Lisa called Sophie. Her voice was trembling as she asked if Sophie had heard from Emily. Sophie's stomach dropped. A cold dread washed over her as she listened to Lisa's worried words. Emily had never ghosted her. Not once. Even if she stayed out late, she would always send a text to let Sophie know she was safe. The silence was terrifying. She drove straight to the railroad tracks. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat of fear. She knew, somehow, that she would find Emily there. The image of Emily's sad smile from the day before flashed through her mind, fueling her growing sense of panic. And that's where she found her. The scene that greeted Sophie was one that would forever be etched into her memory, a horrifying tableau of loss and brutality. Face down. Lifeless. Emily lay still, her body broken and vulnerable. Hands curled in the dirt. Her fingers were clenched tightly, as if she had tried to grasp at something, to hold on to life in her final moments. The necklace twisted tight around her neck like a noose. The silver chain, once a symbol of Jason's devotion, was now a cruel reminder of his betrayal. The same one Sophie had seen 100 times before, now a murder weapon. Sophie screamed. A raw, primal sound of anguish ripped through the morning air, echoing the devastation in her heart. She stumbled back, her legs shaking uncontrollably, before collapsing to her knees. She fumbled for her phone, her hands trembling so violently that she could barely dial the numbers. She called 911. Her voice was choked with sobs as she tried to explain what she had found, the words tumbling out in a disjointed torrent of grief and shock. And the nightmare began. The safe, predictable world of Ridgewood had been shattered, its innocence lost forever. Jason was arrested that same day. The police found him at his home, sitting on his bed, staring blankly ahead. He offered no resistance as they placed him in handcuffs. He didn't run. He didn't fight. He seemed detached, almost numb to the gravity of the situation. When police questioned him, he broke down. The carefully constructed wall of his quiet exterior crumbled, revealing the raw pain and desperation beneath. Told them everything. The confession poured out of him, a torrent of guilt and self-pity. She was leaving me. His voice was barely a whisper, filled with a chilling mixture of remorse and resentment. I couldn't take it. The thought of Emily no longer being his, of her life continuing without him, had driven him to the edge. I just wanted to stop her from walking away. In his twisted mind, killing her was the only way to prevent her from leaving him forever. He was charged with second-degree murder and held without bail. The community of Ridgewood was in shock, struggling to comprehend the horrific crime that had occurred in their midst. At trial, his defense team painted a picture of a troubled young man, claiming emotional instability, abandonment trauma stemming from a difficult childhood, and mental illness. They argued that his actions were not premeditated, but rather a result of a temporary loss of control fueled by his fragile mental state. But the jury saw through it. They recognized the possessiveness, the controlling behavior, and the ultimate act of violence for what it was, a selfish and irreversible act of murder. Jason Myers was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. The verdict brought a small measure of justice for Emily, but it could never bring her back. The sentence felt both too long and not long enough to those who had loved her. At Emily's funeral, the small-town church was overflowing with mourners. Friends, family, teachers, and even acquaintances came to pay their respects to the bright light that had been extinguished too soon. Lisa stood before a silent room, her face pale and etched with grief, clutching her daughter's journal. The worn pages held the intimate thoughts and dreams of a young woman who had been robbed of her future. She read a passage Emily had written just a week before her death. Her voice trembled as she spoke, each word a painful reminder of the vibrant spirit that was now gone. I think love is supposed to make you feel free, not trapped. If someone really loves you, they'll let you grow, not grip you tighter. I'm learning that. Slowly. But I'm learning. The words hung in the air, a poignant testament to Emily's growing understanding of healthy love, a lesson she had paid for with her life. Sophie couldn't stop crying. The tears streamed down her face, a visible manifestation of the immense grief and guilt she felt. The promise Emily had made to text her haunted her, a constant reminder of her powerlessness to prevent the tragedy. And Ridgewood? It was never the same again. The illusion of safety and predictability had been shattered. A dark cloud of sorrow hung over the town, a constant reminder of the young life that had been so cruelly taken. Doors that were once left unlocked were now double-bolted at night. Teenagers no longer lingered quite so carefree in the town square. The tragedy served as a stark reminder that darkness could exist even in the most idyllic settings. Emily Reed wanted love. She longed for connection, for understanding, for the kind of deep and meaningful relationship she had seen in movies and read about in books. She deserved it. She deserved to experience the joy of true love, a love that nurtured and supported her growth. What she got was obsession. A twisted, unhealthy fixation that consumed Jason's every thought and action. Control. A desperate need to possess and dominate, disguised as affection. Violence disguised as devotion. His inability to accept her independence, to let her go, ultimately led to her tragic end. Her story is a warning, a chilling reminder of the dangers that can lurk beneath a seemingly charming exterior. To trust your instincts, that gut feeling that tells you something is wrong. If a relationship feels suffocating, if you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, it's crucial to pay attention to those red flags. To speak up, to confide in trusted friends or family members if you're feeling unsafe or controlled. Don't try to handle it alone. To walk away sooner. Even if it's painful, even if it feels like you're letting go of something precious, your safety and well-being are paramount. Because sometimes, the person who says, "I can't live without you," isn't just being dramatic. For some, those words are a terrifying declaration of possessiveness, a warning sign of the potential for extreme violence. If you or someone you know feels unsafe in a relationship, if you are experiencing controlling behavior, threats, or violence, please reach out for help. You are not alone. There are resources available to provide support and guidance. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, teacher, counselor, or call a domestic violence hotline. Your safety is important. This is True Crime Teejan, where the darkest truths are brought to light and no secret stays buried forever. By sharing stories like Emily's, we don't just tell chilling tales, we shine a light on the hidden patterns of abuse, manipulation, and violence that often go unnoticed, until it's too late. If stories like this move you, disturb you, make you think, subscribe now. We bring you true crime daily, each case more twisted, more revealing, and more unforgettable than the last. Now we want to hear from you. Were there warning signs you recognized? Could Jason's behavior have been stopped before it turned deadly? If you were in Sophie's shoes, what would you have done to protect Emily, or Lisa? Drop a comment below. Your voice matters, and in this community, it might just help someone else see the signs before it's too late. Until next time. Stay sharp. Stay safe. And never stop asking questions. Because the most dangerous people are often the ones who know exactly how to hide in plain sight. This has been True Crime Teejan, and the truth always cuts deeper than fiction.